Vomit. Whoa.
You heard Zoe say it there, right before the Joe Show intro. The worst loss since Tom Brady. I agree. I think most of you agree. Not just because it was an incredibly winnable game for the Patriots on Sunday, but because it was unwatchable. That was unwatchable on Sunday. And it turns out that was the dividing line. Sunday, that game, what we all watched, was the breaking point for the New England Patriots. And here we are. It's Matt McCarthy in for Joe Murray tonight. We do not have much time. Got the Bruins and the Panthers coming your way. RJ and Bob at 6:30 tonight. So if you want to get on the line, you got to do it now. 617-779-0985. We're taking you up until 6:30 with RJ and Bob for Duncan Bruins pregame. So we've got that coming your way. But we do start, of course, with the Drake Maye decision. Coming off of that game on Sunday, which again was the breaking point for the Patriots, for ownership, for the decision makers in Foxborough. I did something I have not done in 20 years, 20 plus years. I turned the game off. Turned it off. I was sitting on the couch in the second quarter, and I turned the game off. I was like, babe, I got to get out of here. I can't do this. I cannot do this anymore. I turned the game off. A Patriots game. I turned it off. I grabbed my headphones. I put Bob and Zoe on the radio, on my phone. Got the app. There you go. I went for a 2-mile run. I could not watch the game anymore. I listened to it for the job, but that was it. I listened to it. I could not watch it. And you couldn't watch it either. And that directly led to the decision today, at least if you ask me. There are a few angles we need to take with the Drake Maye thing. 3 questions that I think we need to ask ourselves. Number 1, who made the decision? Number 2, is it the right decision? And number 3, will it make a difference? Those are the 3 questions we need to ask. Let's start with the first one. Who was the primary decision maker and why did they make it? And I'm glad we get to sit at the adult table here tonight instead of what we just got in the afternoon. This was Robert Kraft's decision, folks. It was Robert Kraft's decision. Let's be real. A quarterback decision, if you own an NFL team, you have a say on the quarterback. You get involved on the quarterback, especially when you take a guy 3rd overall. And the entire future of the franchise is directly tied into Drake Maye. The health of the franchise is tied into the quarterback. That's the way the NFL works. We all understand that. This was Robert Kraft's decision. The product is unwatchable. The brand has taken too much of a hit. You can disguise it as a football decision because Jacoby Brissett obviously is not very good. The team is not very good, and they need to be better offensively, and the better quarterback is sitting on the bench. So you can disguise it as a football decision all you want. Folks, this is a business decision, plain and simple. Because the state of the Flying Elvis is not strong. It is the worst it's been in 30 years. It's the worst it's been under the Kraft ownership. I turned the game off. The stands were 2/3 full by the end of that game. In a 1-score game, stands 2/3 full. After the end of last year, where the stands were not full for the Chargers game, the stands were not full for the Jets game, final game of the year. Could you have ever imagined a world where a 1-score Patriots game on a beautiful October day, the stands would not be full? That is rock bottom type stuff, man. And Robert Kraft could not stand for that. That is beer money coming out of his pocket. Hot dogs, sausages, foam fingers, you name it. Whatever it is down there, if you're not going, he's not making money. I've been doing these polls on Twitter every single week. Very simple question. Do you find the Patriots interesting? Yes or no? Simple question. Here's how it went. Week 1, about 1,000 people voting on this every week. So a decent enough sample size. Week 1, 50-50. Some people said yes. Some people said no. Split right down the middle. By week 3, 67% of you said, no, the Patriots are not interesting. Week 4, 88% of you said the Patriots are not interesting. And after that game on Sunday, when I asked the question, 93% of you said the Patriots are not interesting. How could Robert Kraft stand for that? How could he? The brand had gotten too bad. The brand had taken too much of a hit. And the only move they had to fix this, to try and get you back, to try and get you interested in what's going on down there, the only move they had was to put the kid in. Chris Gasper's been calling Jacoby Brissett the quarterback crash test dummy. Well, if that's the case, then Drake Maye is the human embodiment of hope. No pressure, by the way, for Drake Maye. No pressure at all. They had to do this for the overall health of the franchise. In some ways, if you want to look at it from an ownership perspective, they kind of had no choice. Put yourself in Robert Kraft's shoes. Could you stand for Jacoby Brissett? Could you stand for what you've seen in the first 5 weeks of this season? It was only going to get worse. It was not going to get better. How could you be convinced after watching that thing on Sunday and after watching 5 weeks of this that it would get better from an interest standpoint, from a health of the brand standpoint, the health of the Flying Elvis? In some ways, they had no choice from an ownership perspective. I think it's obvious. I think it's obvious that this was an ownership level call. Let's not pretend like this was the coaches, that Drake Maye and Alex Van Pelt and Elliott Wolf got in a room and they decided that, okay, well, now is the time to move on to Drake Maye. This was the plan. It's, we're 1-4. Okay, now's the time for Drake Maye. Sorry, that's not the way the world works. That's not the way business works. That's not the way the National Football League works. I think we believe that Robert Kraft told Bill Belichick to draft Mac Jones or to draft a quarterback. I'm sure there was a directive to Elliott Wolf with the 3rd overall pick to draft a quarterback. There probably wasn't the directive, you draft Drake Maye over this guy, or if Jaden Daniels falls, you take him. There probably wasn't that, but there was an ownership level directive to take a quarterback. And I'm sure there was an ownership level directive to move on to Drake Maye at this point. Here's the other tip. Here's the other reason why it's pretty obvious to me, and I think it should be obvious to you, that Robert Kraft and ownership made this decision today. It happened today. The day of the decision is the tell. That's the big tell here. It's the players' day off. Remember 6 weeks ago, Drake Maye did the whole thing in preseason about, yes, I've decided on who my starting quarterback is, but I'm not going to tell you today because I haven't told the players yet. It was that whole thing. You're telling me 6 weeks later he's totally abandoned that approach? Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. Let's be real. Come on. You tip it to Rappaport. You tip it to Schefter. Ownership level sources. Ownership using the media. This decision was made by Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft and Robin Glazier. This is an ownership level decision. I think that's obvious. If you agree, you disagree, you can let me know. 617-779-0985. That's the first question we need to answer. Who made this decision and why? I think it's obvious. It's ownership, and because the state of the brand had taken way too much of a hit. Question 2. Is this the right decision? No! Of course this isn't the right decision. Not a chance is this the right decision. Not this week. Not this spot. This is a terrible spot for the kid. Terrible spot. You're 1-4. It's obvious the franchise isn't going anywhere. It puts more pressure on him than you'd like to put in the first place. But when we spent the whole summer, Skaz, when we spent the whole summer, you can speak to this better than just about anybody. How many times did we do what week would you pick Drake Maye? If you were to, plan out a perfect world, would it be week 8? Would it be week 10? Would it be against the Colts and whatever? Did anybody, the calls you have taken, shows with Joe, shows with me, shows with whoever was in over the summer, was there a single person out there who said, you know what, Skaz, I've got the week for you. It is week 6 against the Houston Texans at home. Did anybody pick that?
I can't recall anybody leading with that one as the soft landing spot for Drake Maye.
It's not a soft landing spot. That's one of the best teams in the conference. You're gonna feed him to the Wolves at home in week 6. This was not the plan. Not the plan. Which also tells me that it's probably not the coaching staff who made this decision, because they probably want to find a soft landing spot for Drake Maye. Would have always, in an ideal world, would have been the way to do it. You find a weaker opponent, probably at home, and you just kind of figure it out from there. And then ownership comes in on a Tuesday when the players are off, and they said, all right, it's Drake Maye's job. Terrible spot for the kid. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Not to mention, too, the state of the offensive line with a center who gave up 10 pressures on Sunday. That's a real stat. 10 pressures, that Nick Leverett guy. A team that's 1-4. This is a terrible, terrible spot for Drake Maye. And by the way, I was okay with, the idea of having Maye sit on the bench and develop, and you wait. Like, I was okay with that. But eventually they were going to have to hand the reins over to him. I wanted to see him play this year. It has obviously become apparent that the team is not interesting without him. So I wanted to go to Drake Maye eventually. Never in a million years would I have picked week 6. Never in a million years would I have picked the Texans. Come on. It's a terrible spot for him. Which again leads me to believe that it's not the football people making the decision. It is the business people making the decision. Because the game's unwatchable. The team's unwatchable. You can't engage with them. You can't do it. I turned the game off on Sunday. I've never done that. People left. Two-thirds of the place filled by the end of that game, a one-score game. Business decision, not a football decision. And the third and final question. Will it make a difference? Maybe. We'll get into that on the other side and your thoughts, and we'll get you ready for the Bruins as well. 617-779-0985. Make no mistake about it. This was Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, and Robin Glazier making this decision today. Your thoughts next. It's McCarthy in for Joe.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 90. right through the night.
I actually spoke with women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Breaking news to begin NFL Live, a quarterback change in New England. Adam Schefter joining us from the Detroit airport. What's going on?
Well, Laura, the New England Patriots have made the decision to bench Jacoby Brissett and go with Drake Maye as their new starting quarterback. He'll become the fourth rookie quarterback to start this year. He will make his first NFL start Sunday against the Houston Texans. I think the idea was to leave him on the bench a little longer than possible and hope that Jacoby Brissett could win some games in the interim, but that didn't get done. The team had been regressing. It hadn't been performing in offense, and I think the Patriots decided that it's time for a spark, a change, and to move forward, and so they are going to go with Drake Maye as their starting quarterback on Sunday against the Texans.
Ready to hand things off to RJ and Bob here momentarily, but I think a question you need to ask yourself: how much of a difference will it make? And was Jacoby Brissett really the problem with the team? Jacoby Brissett wasn't helping matters. I'll give you that. Drake Maye. What'd you say? Oh, sorry, Skaz. You good? All right. Jacoby Brissett wasn't helping matters. He wasn't the problem. He wasn't ultimately the problem with this team. It's talent, it's coaching, it's the offensive line, and the quarterback is somewhere on the list. So they got better at the most important position on the field. That's no small thing. But my concern is 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, we'll find these games are more entertaining, but it's ultimately not going to make enough of a difference. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it? 617-779-0985. Let's go to John in the car. Hey, John.
Yeah, McCarthy, we're electric out here, man.
We are electric, John.
They finally put in the better quarterback. I bet Jabril Peppers would have been doing blow on Friday night.
All right, John, I'm going to let you go on that. How about Rob at Andover? Hi, Rob.
Hey, question. First of all, your station is so negative against it. Your sports competitor station, they're all in favor. It's like sliced bread. But here's the other question. If you took a poll of Patriot Nation, what would it be? I'd say 90% want to see him in. What do you think?
Yeah, I think most Patriots fans want to see Drake Maye at this point. I want to see Drake Maye from an entertainment standpoint. This is not the week for it, though. It's not. You know, if we're talking about the health of the franchise moving forward, which, again, is directly tied into Drake Maye, are you putting him in the best position to succeed by throwing him out there against this Texans team? With what he's surrounded by? Offensive line, coaching, skill positions, a wide receiver who can't get both feet in bounds, a second-round pick? The answer to all of that is no. So, yes, people want to see Drake Maye because they're tired of seeing Jacoby Brissett. But if I bought into the plan, and I did buy into the plan, that you should take it slowly with him, you should develop him, you should make sure that it's a good situation, that he takes over a good situation, because that's going to put him in the best position to succeed, and as a result is going to put your franchise in the best position to succeed moving forward. The Patriots accomplished none of that. None of that in these first 5 weeks, and now they're throwing him to the wolves. So it'll be exciting. It's certainly going to be more enjoyable to watch Drake Maye, but it's not the right time for him. It's not. John's in Boston. Hey, John.
Hey, what's going on? Calling in from South Boston.
Cool.
I got a question. Is Gerard Mayo the guy here? Every time they pan to him on the sideline, he's not saying anything. Since he's taken over, that defense is decimated. They get torched right up the middle, and he's basically just the defensive head coach, and he's got no control over the offense. The offense is atrocious.
Right, so I'll let you go on that. You're telling me that Gerard Mayo made the decision on this? Come on. Let's be real. I mean, they basically had to convince the guy this summer to start saying, no, it's my decision. We have made the decision. No, sorry, I have made the decision that we'll start Drake Maye. This is not a Gerard Mayo decision. This is an ownership level decision. Pete in Plainville. Hey, Pete.
Hey, Matt. Great show.
Thanks, man.
I'm just incredibly aggravated with the whole process. It's two separate issues. The fact that Jacoby Brissett hasn't performed, well, that was the organization's decision to bring him in. So, and the idea that you just said, like, whoa, it will be more exciting. Well, are we sure? Josh Allen went 9 for 30, and Caleb Williams got killed 3 weeks ago. So let's not just assume that May's going to go in there and the Patriots are going to look better. They might get him killed this weekend, and it's just going to regret. He's going to regress and retard his growth moving forward. It's just you're right. This is an organizational issue, and this should be laid at the feet of Robert and Jonathan Kraft, who have ruined this franchise the last 4 years.
It hasn't been good the last 4 years. I'll give you that. Listen, could Drake Maye go in there and completely change things because he's the savior and he's the second coming? Yeah, maybe. Maybe he could, but if we were committed to this idea, and I was committed to the idea that you let him develop and you find the right spot for him and the right situation for him to go in, take over the franchise, you treat him with kid gloves, and you do this thing slowly because that's the best way to develop a quarterback, I bought totally into that idea, and they obviously failed that. Nobody in their right mind would have picked week 6 against the Texans with this offensive line and this coaching staff. Like, it's not the right situation for the young kid. It's just not. Brandon in Boston, you got to be quick, Brandon.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my phone call. So, yeah, I think this is too soon. I had him ready for week 7. I think that would have been a great game for him because, you know, the Jags are really not that good. They got their first win against the Colts last week.
We're up against it. I got to let you go on that. Yeah, week 7 would have been a much better spot instead of going up against this Texans team week 6. This was not a football decision. This was a business decision after we all had to endure that game on Sunday. Ben in Groveland, got to be quick, Ben.
Yeah. Big picture take. My issue with it is that their plan was that they have no plan. Just organizationally, no plan. Sorry.
Yeah, they had a plan, and then they ditched it. They ditched it because all of a sudden the pressure mounted. And we're talking about mutinies last week, and the stands are 2/3 full, and I turned off a Patriots game for the first time in 20 years. I can't remember the last time I did. It's like, I can't watch this. I got to go for a walk. I got to go for a run. I'll put the game on my headphones, but I can't watch this anymore.